Okay, day 65, part 2. As I mentioned earlier, Braverman's not to be seen. There's a few people who on Twitter have said, oh yeah, he's fine. But that's hardly proof. I think the proof would be him putting his own picture on Twitter and with today's New York Times, which I've offered a reward to do, and I am waiting to hear from the reward company to approve that. But the question I'm going to ask today is, I asked earlier this morning, was Braverman in on it from the beginning? The idea being that we're going to take over 7 countries in the Middle East project that David Petraeus outlined. This goes back to 2003. You can see Wesley Clark talking about this plan. And these 4 steps being just the middle 2, Libya and Syria. Okay, so Braverman establishes this IHRC along with Laura Graham. This is the gal who was going to drive off into the Staten Island ferry to commit suicide because of all the infighting over this money as it comes through. Now, the key question is there are 2. This is the second part. The first part of every morning I'm divided out to do the crime. Basically, these steps are the crime. The second part I'll do is the cover-up. So if you're not interested in the investigation, putting in a special prosecutor, what the FBI is doing to obstruct, you don't have to watch the part 2s. If you like more of the international intrigue, the oil and arms, you can just watch the part 1s. But in this part 2, there's these missing 302s. These are summaries of FBI interviews. There's also the full FBI file, which has the detailed interviews. And normally, they do the videos of those. They do videotapes of those as standard FBI practice. So Judicial Watch, well, first of all, Jason Chaffetz has asked for these 2 missing 302s. They got, the Oversight Committee got about 30 of them, and they're missing these 2 302s. And he's asked for the full file, so that means the videotapes as well. And now Judicial Watch has asked for those videotapes as well to be made public through the FOIA process. FOIA usually isn't as strong at getting information out as the congressional subpoenas. But the FBI is stonewalling on these. Now, the speculation is, who are the 2 missing 302s? If it's Braverman and Graham that actually created this funnel for this kind of illegal operation to occur, the 2 302s could be them. That's some speculation. Other speculation says, well, there's top secret information in those 302s, and that's why we know that that's the excuse the FBI is using not to give that. So then the attention obviously goes to the guy who wrote those plans, Petraeus, and his henchman, Morell. So those could be the 2 302s. In either case, they're the most important 302s that the FBI is withholding to solve the case and crack the cover-up. So if you haven't seen or read about this Middle East project, it's below. And also, George Soros calls his project the Middle East Project. So that's just the information side of this military campaign, okay? So who knows if Braverman knew from the beginning or if he knew down here. That's why I put the question mark here. So through the rest of this, I'm just going to play, helper for the FBI. And seemingly they can't get they can't seem to read the emails. It's going to take them 5 years to do the emails. So I thought I would help them in evidence gathering in this. First of all, open the Miami office information about the Haiti investigation to the rest of the 4 other offices working this case: Little Rock, Los Angeles, New York, and Washington, D.C. And then combine all the investigators under one investigator who's not somebody who's received a bribe from the person being investigated. That's my second. Then come clean on all the quid pro quos that have happened over the last 20 years and anytime you've destroyed evidence. Now, you get immunity, but I think it's just important that the public understands that. And the other thing about the 302s that I mentioned earlier, if you were an FBI agent and you worked your life and you started, J. Edgar Hoover hired you, and you saw this counterterrorism thing being brought in and kind of wedging out real law enforcement with this fake terrorism stuff that some people have been involved in, like Mr. McCabe here, you would, if you saw Bill Clinton climb the stairs of Loretta Lynch's plane and fix the Hillary investigation, if that was your investigation that was being crushed, you might go and subpoena Eric Braverman and Laura Graham. Or you might go and subpoena Morell and David Petraeus because you want to get to the bottom of the case. Now, when you suppress the 302s and suppress the full interviews, and let's say he did this on July 1st, the day after Bill climbed the stairs, okay? That could have been when the subpoena and the search warrant was filed. That could have been when the search warrant was filed. Then you could destroy those 302s and come up with your own version of 302s, like this never happened, like there was never any hero over here in the FBI because of the plane climbing. And I'll bet anything that happened in New York City because they're trying to, Podestas are representing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia against the people that were killed at 9/11. So anyway, that's another story. Read here if you want to go into the slides and read through all the things that the ex-assistant FBI director said is wrong with this case. So I won't go over all those things like giving immunity to the conspirators and letting the conspirators all sit together in the interview and not videotaping Hillary's interview and not doing an interview under oath and all those other things that have happened. And then I would recommend not giving any more prosecutorial or police powers to folks in this situation when this kind of stuff is going on. So what I'm going to do is help the investigation along with what I call the subpoena stamp. And I'm going to just say everywhere there's been wrongdoing and where we have a smoking gun email, we can issue a subpoena. And if we don't issue a subpoena through the FBI and the Justice Department, then we can issue it through the House Oversight Subcommittee. And we can also FOIA any records that are government records. But most of these are going to be subpoenas. So we know George Soros was planning and architecting the Albania coup. Boom, subpoena. We know about Podesta, subpoena. We know about that connection to Tom Nidus, subpoena. Justra, subpoena. I don't know if he's been subpoenaed or not. Now, there's a theory that says the reason he got married, that he and Neil Brown got married, is that he's gay, Eric Braverman, but Neil Brown isn't. And the reason they got married was to have what they call the marriage fifth. So if they're married, they don't have to testify against each other. So that's just a theory that's out there, but it does seem like they got married conveniently when the investigation was rolling in their direction. Again, here we have Sid with a private army and toppling a private government to get the leader's money. Subpoena. We need to go into not just the email, but ask him about a whole other set of invasions. Again, down here, when we're trying to build, Echo One, this huge real estate development in Lagos, Nigeria, that's a subpoena. Over here, where we have private email going to Joe Wilson for the sub-Saharan Africa, that's a subpoena. And I mentioned Justra over here, and this guy Curzon, those are all subpoenas. Because we know this money is being funneled through that Haiti organization. These are all Clinton Foundation donors. So those are all subpoenas. Why the FBI hasn't issued subpoenas for these already is beyond me, but why the Oversight Committee hasn't issued subpoenas yet for these is a little bit of a question. So now we're going to go to the NATO situation. Rasmussen here was a key part of architecting the invasion of Syria. The long-term plan here could be, if you listen to Engdahl, the professor, that they're trying to actually make a place to make Syria a part of NATO. So he can get a subpoena. We know that through Optor, that the whole breakup of Yugoslavia was through the CIA and through NATO. So that is also can be subpoenaed. So Chandelon, this suspicious death with, he's left-handed and he shoots himself with the right hand, and then he puts his gun in the glove compartment. That can be, instead of going after soccer executives, right, which we did after 16 of them, which counterterrorism McCabe did, let's go after these guys who actually engineered these coups in this Clinton Foundation thing. So you're going to find out the soccer thing is a total cover for this, okay? And we have the guy who starts the hedge fund here and basically says, I'm a hyena eating wildebeests. He starts this huge hedge fund, this $10 billion hedge fund, almost like a couple of days after this step one is complete of toppling Gaddafi and getting Gaddafi's money. That's a subpoena. Bridgewater's a subpoena. $6 million being paid out to Comey for leaving after 5 years' work. Those bonuses are suspicious, especially when you then give $1 million, have Lockheed give $1 million to the Clinton Foundation, and then also give 17 different quid pro quo deals to Lockheed. That's a subpoena. And then you have Comey going to HSBC and then bringing a lot of money back into the Treasury, and also for New York law enforcement, $2 billion. Well, that money goes to a guy named Jack Lew. Well, who is Jack Lew? Jack Lew was the guy who was the chief of staff who blocked all of Christopher Stevens' attempts to call back to the White House. And the other guy was Dennis McDonough. So there's a subpoena for the Benghazi Committee. So I just wanted to help the FBI along today with things they should be doing. And, and the construction company that benefited from Haiti, Libya, and Syria through these machinations, they also get a subpoena. That's it for today.